So I'm doing this whole new thing at Bread and Honey this year, and the idea is how do we live soulfully? And if we do live soulfully, then we have lives that have depth and meaning and hopefully deep joy. And so when I look at you, I see someone that I know is living soulfully. Oh. And so that's why it's this idea of wanting to share kind of how you're doing it. I feel like we learn from one another. And so kind of hearing your heart and hearing how you do try to live a spiritual life in a secular world, I think is so important. Well, one, it's important to me because I want to hear you, but also, and I think it's also important to say that I did not know you before I met you here in Nashville. So I did not know you. I was living abroad when you were on TV. We crisscrossed paths in New York. And so the first time I met you was just to meet you as Elizabeth, the mom of children that are at school with me.
Love that.
And instantly felt like I had met a friend that was going to be like a long-term, deep, spiritual friend for me. And you have proven that like in spades. The other thing that I want to say is you like kind of flew in like an angel when I was going through the stuff with Fernando, and you opened doors that probably would not have been opened without you. So complete gratitude for that, because we both love Fernando. And that whole experience changed both of our lives, and we'll be forever changed. And I think that is something we'll always have together, is Fernando and the family and everything about that. So for so many reasons, you are my #1 first choice for Soulful 7 Conversations.
I'm gonna make you cry right
now. No, it's just, you are like, yes, you are a light clearly in so many people's lives.
Right back at you, friend. I have to tell you that I'm thankful I'm a believer that God introduces hearts before hands. And I really feel that was the case right upon meeting you and then growing into some situations together. And then with our families, I feel like aside from our guardianship of our family table, which we love our table together. Yes. But I think that there's just a desire to be in relationship with God and really seek His peace. And so I felt like a kindred spirit immediately with you, and then just sewn and knitted since. So I'm so thankful.
So, okay, so we're going to start with the first one. How do you know God exists?
You know, Farrell, I trust that. I don't know. I just trust.
Okay.
And I believe that, I heard the sermon on that, we are not designed to know everything. And when you go back to, and you just spoke like about Eden, right? And about the knowledge that Adam and Eve were seeking, and how Eden was meant for them to be perfect, but they were denied that one thing. It was that bit of knowledge to know everything that God knew.
Complete knowing.
And I am not a person, I used to be a person, I need to know everything. I've been in an industry where you have to know everything, and you better be right about everything. This is the one area, which is everything, that I just feel like I don't know, yet I trust. And I know that trust is a gift from God, because I have chosen to be obedient because He says so.
Okay.
And that, I'm a rule follower. I think that might be part of my nature. I'm not necessarily a challenger of rules. So when I read His word and I believe that it's divinely inspired, I believe that He exists. Like, I wouldn't look at a painting, and you've traveled Europe, you've seen, I mean, magnificent art. The first thing someone wants to know is who made that? Like, who made that? Who sculpted that? So literally, when I look at a tree, a mountain, a child, I don't think that just happened. So I believe that there was a divine designer. And that is just, I think, always been in my heart. I think God gave me creative eyes, but He also knew that I would seek to know who made that. But that also comes with who allows that, and that comes with some really tough things. But He says it, and I trust it. I know He exists because I know love exists. I know He exists because there is a force greater than us. I know He exists because, I mean, the beauty of our children. I know that He exists because I see love. You know, I grew up with to love another person is to see the face of God. So I
Victor Hugo.
Yes,
in the Bible.
I believe that. You know, I really do, and I trust it, and I can feel His presence and His peace, and therefore I don't question His existence. When I get into questioning, it's the wrestling with the why. Like, why? In the very good and in the very bad. I question both of those extremes all the time.
I know we've said before that it is so difficult to be human, and we both have seen the heartbreak and the struggle, but then also it's so incredibly remarkable and miraculous, the glimmers of good and beauty and love and friendship and signs of hope.
Yes.
Okay.
You're a champion of hope, and I love that about you.
I think it's because it's, you know, I always talk about things and that I'm like so trying to hold on to or to believe myself. And so it's almost like if I'm talking about hope and we're trying to live in hope, then there is hope because we're working towards that or trying to manifest it. So.
And when you say hope, can I ask you, because I really believe that aren't many people that talk about that, because I don't think it's an easy thing to talk about, because it almost calls for withstanding of your circumstances. And in the midst of storms, that hope is sometimes really foggy. But how do you define that? Like, how do you define hope?
So I define hope as there always being the presence of God, the potential and the promise that love will prevail, and redemption is available and will happen for all of us. And so it's holding on to those three truths is me holding on to hope. When I let go of God's presence, God's in this, whatever it is, or I let go of that inner truth of love will prevail. It just will. God promises it, that love will prevail and we will be redeemed. We can't determine when that's going to happen, and I can't make it happen because it's not within my purview, but I believe it will happen. When God says, all will be well, all will be well, that's me holding on to hope. That when I cannot make sense of a situation, and there's so many situations across the board and across lives, and even cosmically, that we cannot make sense of or make faith sense of, I have to hold on to those three truths, you know, that God is here, absolutely present. And love and redemption are our gift and our promise. I wish I could tell you, Elizabeth, that when I speak of hope that it was easy, and that I'm like, yeah, I'm living in hope. It's a day-to-day choice and struggle to live in hope. It's
Were you always like this? Or like,
I think I've always been a hopeful spirit. You know, I just have always felt like, you know, God's going to find a way through this. We're going to find a way. But I will say, as I've gotten older, it is harder, because I think that the things that I hope for are so much weightier and bigger. And so it is a day-to-day hoping.
Okay. That's honest and helpful.
Yes, it is. I wish I could say it's easy to hope and tell you that, but I don't think it is. If you're really, truly like digging in for that real hope. It's not hoping for, you know, a new book or, you know, the things that are just so easy and tangible. It's this deep, deep hope of like the big things. It's the heart that we're hoping for.
Do you think hope requires discipline, or does hope just happen?
In so many beautiful ways, God has made hope happen for me. Okay. There have been places where I thought there is no way there is a single bit of hope here. Like, this is too bad. This is too heartbreaking. This is too dark. There's no way. And God has surprised me. And And then there are other times where it is work.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm going to trust you. And maybe that's a little bit of what hope is this constant just saying, I'm going to trust you, thy will be done. Mm-hmm. Like I'm putting it there. I'm putting my heart and all that I love and all that I am and all that I believe or all that I want to believe, I'm putting it into your hands.
Okay.
Daily
So
work.
it's both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, tell me this.
Okay.
If you were going to introduce God as you know God to me, and you told me 3 characteristics, what would you say?
I'd say he's present. He's right here with you all the time, like inescapable presence in the best way.
Okay.
He's a powerful God. He can do anything, has and will. And I'd say he's a God of peace, not to be confused with calm. And I'd say he sees you exactly where you are.
And who you are.
And who you are. And I would say you need to remember whose you are, because you're his. Like he is yours, you are his. Like you know that, you said it. Like that's, so he is yours because you are his. And he loves you exactly as you are. And he calls you by name. He just calls you by name.
Knows every hair on your head. Your thoughts before you say it.
Before you speak them. You know, and that is, I feel like that for a person who works hard and knows effort, there's awesome surrender in that. Because I think, even for me, I'm a person who tends to work really hard at a lot of things with the best intentions, but you end up hitting a place where your limits are known. He's limitless. And so, to me, that is something that I rest in, is that where I am limited, he is limitless. And that my needs only reflect how much more I need him. I need you so much. You know, I don't have to be this because you already are. He just always is. And so that he is unchanging. What is happening does not change who he is. That's like the grounding of our being. We all search for that sense of something that is unshakable, and to believe that you have that. I'll never forget when Charlie had his cancer, and I was just, you know, all crazy on the inside and on the outside. And it was the one thing that my minister at the time said is, you got to hold fast to that you have God. That is your one unshakable. That's your like steel rod that you have regardless and in whatever circumstances. You can hold on to that, which kind of goes back to hope too. Like, we have a God who knows what it's like for his own son to cry out, God, why have you forsaken me? He knows that cry. That's a familiar cry. Right. And he permitted that cry. He's not asking us to not feel like, why did this happen to Charlie? He gave us a heart to seek, and he didn't desire pain. He didn't desire us to feel separation. He wanted things to be just right. But he didn't make us robotically. And therefore, after that fall, like, his desire is to be with us again. And he loves us, even in our awful states, he still wants to be with us. Right. What king wants that? You know, doesn't demand perfection, but he hears our cries of the heart. And they're so familiar to him. He knows them. Well, and I believe too that God is the one being, spirit, presence that knows me as I truly am. So knows my capacity for goodness and my I guess ability to hope, and how I'm wired to love and to be loved, and that's the way I'm supposed to be. Okay. Delights in that. So when and where do you feel especially close to God? I think I grew up feeling close to God. It's funny. I'm like, I grew up with Jesus. Did you not? I mean, I grew up, my grandmother had like paintings of the Last Supper by our dining room table. There were statues of Jesus everywhere. I grew up in a Roman Catholic Italian family. So there were, I mean, Jesus was everywhere. You're like, if someone's like, everywhere. Do you know Jesus? I'm like, I do. He has breakfast and dinner with us, and Mary's in the yard, and Joseph is over here. I mean, it was also familiar to me in a very like youthful way. And as I came down the path in my faith walk, I felt like, okay, was that real? Did I know him? And I saw my grandmother pray earnestly, and my mama was devoted to her God, and I saw her discipline every day, and I remember feeling close to him then. And then I realized how much like her I am in ways, because it's not a statue, but it's a sign. It's words on the wall. It's scripture where I need it. And you know, I hear sometimes
you are a visual person.
I'm a visual person.
You are. You're very visual. And so am I. Wow. I think that's why we these words and images and places in nature and coincidences, like beautiful spiritual coincidences, we like hold on to them.
I grab them, and God knows that. Like someone could walk in and be like, wow, you're like super Christian. I'm like, no, I'm awful. I just need a lot of mapping around me, just like my grandmother did. I need a lot of reminders visually, where to turn to. And so I feel really close when I'm in the Word, when I take the time, when I'm quiet. I feel close. I feel his closeness and his presence more now, I think, than ever, which also allows me to question more when things aren't going right or well in my eyes. But I feel close to him when I'm with someone I love. I feel close to him when I'm talking to you. I feel like I feel like his yes child, you know, when in those moments where I'm just getting quiet enough to hear him. And I have felt closest to him in the hardest of times, because where everything else felt out of reach, literally out of reach, so far out of either control or out of reach, where he felt close. And it's not because he wasn't close. That's the thing. Like, he is close. It's whether or not I'm acknowledging and getting enough out of the way to, I think really he wants us to enjoy his closeness and lean in his closeness. He's not far. That's the thing. The truth of it is, like, he is near.
It's like right here.
He's
right
near.
Here. I know.
He's near. Like, whether we feel it or not, it's not. The greatest thing about God is it doesn't depend on my feelings, because my feelings change.
Right.
My mood changes. My days change. My strength changes. My faith doesn't depend on how strong I'm believing it. It's based in an unchanging God. So, kind of in a way takes the pressure off. But I feel close to him in the very good, in the very bad. And now, as I think in just my age, I can feel him all throughout the day. But I think that has a lot to do with just stopping and allowing him to have that space.
Well, and you know, I'm doing this year of trying to live soulfully, and because I feel like the world that we live in does feel awfully secular, can often feel loud, too materialistic focused. It's harder to find the sacred and the spiritual and to live soulfully. I mean, we both know as moms of children, and also both of us working, that it's a lot of hustle and bustle. It's a lot of, you know, spending top days where we're just here, there, and everywhere. And so I think that I know personally it is, I have to be more intentional, and I have to be more disciplined, and I have to live soul first and soulfully. What does that look like to you? Like, what does it look like to try and live the soulful life? Because we both know, especially living in New York City and all the places that we both have lived, and you can easily wake up in the day and not have a sacred or spiritual moment the whole day.
Sure.
Working and busy and to-do lists and fears, and
it's a battlefield.
It's a daily choosing to live soulfully. So what does that look like for you? Like, what would you say are some essentials to living soulfully in your own life?
I would say for me, and I think for our family, I'm kind of like a plant. And you and David are like green thumbers, right, by nature.
I'm not.
But he is. You appreciate it, so you can use it.
I do.
You will put the rosemary to good use.
Yes, exactly. His lavender, his rosemary, I use it.
It's a cycle of, I think, well-utilized green thumb. Right. So for me, I'm kind of like that plant where if you water a plant and the first like cup of water, it will soak up into the plant. and it's just what the plant's designed to do, soak up what's first. But if you continue to water the plant, eventually the second water like drains out. It's not utilized. It might not ever be. It could maybe later on in the day, if the plant's thirsty again, the soil gets dry again, it can sit in the basin. But oftentimes that can just kind of get kind of moldy. I think for me, I need that first water that goes in the plant to like be the Word of God. I need it to be, I need that to wash over me first. I kind of call it, I usually write about gluten. I wrote this book this year and it's about God. And I feel like, God, why am I writing not about gluten? Why am I writing about this? And I don't really feel qualified, but I feel like in the television world, which I came from, they use this like white balance as another example where all the other colors on the screen, the camera will look at a piece of white paper first to kind of see, okay, well, we're going to balance everything else off of that white. Because that white will determine every other color as the camera reads it in the lens. Okay, so yellow will seem yellow now that we know the white balance. And I feel like the Word has been being able to soak that in first and allow everything else to fall against the truth allows me to process better. So if I don't do that, I know how I am. So living soulfully for me means filling up on truth first, because there's a lot of news in the world, and I think the good news, as hard as it is sometimes to get in there and read and have the discipline, that for me is my first watering on my plant, so that's soaked up first and everything else comes second. On the days that I do that, I just feel more able to kind of see things His way and not mine.
It almost gives you a softer landing to the day.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, so this is how we're going to take this day.
Yes.
If we start with the scriptures.
Yes.
So with that said, is there certain scriptures that are your go-to that oh yeah, that's the best water. That's or do you kind of follow through the Bible or randomly open it up?
I did not grow up like memorizing scripture. So
I wish I did. Now looking back, I wish I had grown up memorizing scripture.
I would have like the truth spoken, but it wasn't, I didn't go through Proverbs or Psalms as a kid. We didn't do that. We had a very faithful home and we knew the Word of God and His promise, but I wasn't in my Bible, and that's no one's fault but my own. I think now, and I'll kind of label it differently, like I'll go through some books of the Bible, and I think reading through one at a time, understanding like, what is God saying? Who is He saying it to? Why did He say it then? And how does that apply to me? I have a hard time kind of going through it in order, but I really feel like I kind of have found scriptures and I make my own tabs, like when tired, when lonely, when impatient, when I'm thankful, with gratitude, seeking, for a friend. So I kind of label mine that way because I was that person who they're like, open up to Zephaniah, and I'm like, Zephaniah's in the Bible. Like, where is that? So I'm just learning like everybody else, but I do believe that having the Word of God, it doesn't go bad. God's Word does not go bad. It does not get wasted, and He will use it. So if you listen to His Word and you're reading His Word, He will not waste it. And so if you're in it, He will use it however He sees best in your life. And it might be for you, or it might be to arm you up for somebody else who needs it. So,
and you're amazed, like, oh my gosh,
right?
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Exactly what I needed to hear.
You just put me on a new path. Thank you. Or a new perspective. Or, okay, you've given me what I need to kind of make my way through this.
Yes. Like
so would you say that's a
daily
early morning practice? Like you're just going to make sure you read something, one scripture.
I read something. Before you start my contact lenses in, at one of the toughest periods in my life, waking up at what I consider to be a pretty unfriendly hour of the day, 2:35 a.m.
I could not have done that. Carol cannot get up at 2:30 for anything.
I think we could have if I was more disciplined in my sleep, but I didn't go to bed early enough, but I would wake up and almost army crawl to a devotional in the Word in the morning before I put my glasses on or my contact lenses and just read it, because I think when you're brought to a point of pure exhaustion and there's nothing else, and I've allowed myself into situations where I've gotten purely exhausted before, to know well enough that that's where I need to go, that nothing else really works. It's not, vitamin B for me is vitamin Bible. Like, just get in the Word, because my words will be less than. Anyone else's words are going to be less than if that's not first. And I think for our kids, starting the morning off right at the table is just getting a word, like just hearing some truth for the day, something uplifting, letting them know who they are in the eyes of God, that He loves them and wants them to be who they're created to be. That He already has their plan. For I know the plans I have for you. And He's got that set out for them. And I think just being excited, like I always say to them, like, I can't wait to see like how God's going to grow you. I can't wait to see, how He's going to use all these gifts that He's given you. I can't wait to see how He's going to see you through this.
And don't we need to hear that too, though? I mean, it's at our age, over 40, both of us, don't we kind of need to hear that too? Like, we're still here and have a breath in us, so there must be something that God wants us to be doing. And how is God going to grow us now? Like, I've kind of now that I'm not having babies anymore, and that season of my life has changed. I think I had a struggle with that of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? And it felt like a little bit of an internal struggle of, okay, so what is next? And there is next. Like, there's things that I'm supposed to grow and experience and do, and adventures and friendships and this constant, God has plans for you. God has plans for you. Like, we've still got things to do. Yes. We're here. And again, it's not Farrell have plans for you. It's God has plans for me.
Yes. Yes, He does.
Okay. Do you have any absolute truths that anchor you in this uncertain and unpredictable world? And I say that us both coming off of the September 11th, because we were both there. And we both know that life is uncertain. We look through the mirror dimly. I mean, God tells us that. So much that we don't know. We don't know what's next. And but we can have some absolutes. What would those be for you?
I mean, I have just surrendered so much to His sovereignty, that His sovereignty is all. Like, but He cares for us. So we've got this. I really rest in the truth that He is our God and Lord, and He's almighty, and He still cares for us. Like, intimately, and wants.
That's where Jesus comes into the picture for me, because I feel like there's always that God and divine and Jesus, and for me, it's like God gave Jesus as such a gift, because Jesus is this human flesh Farrell, and I've been there.
Yeah, I've been there.
Like, I know this. I've been on this terrain before.
Betrayal.
And guess what? I have wept. It was like the most revelatory thing when I read Jesus wept. Because it's like Jesus had this beating heart that could be broken and disappointed, and so has been down that road before me. And I love that. Right. It's like, you've given me this tender thing that I can see and hold on to.
Yes.
And because Jesus has done it before me, then it's like, okay, so I'm going to rest in this, and I'm going to find my way through this, knowing that He trusted you, God, that I can trust you, God. I think it was God just saying, okay, listen, I know how hard this is a struggle. Like I'm just telling you, so you're here on this journey, and there's going to be lots of beautiful things, but there are also going to be some hard things. And by sending Jesus, it's like both of us are visual people. It's like, here's your visual. Like, this is how to love tenderly.
Yes.
This is how to love truly.
Yeah.
This is how to be brave. Yeah. This is how to be resilient. Yeah. This is how to both be a peacemaker, but also retain this sense of complete inner peace, that whatever the circumstances are, whatever happens, you're going to be all right. You're going to make it. I got a plan for you. I'm going to see you through. I don't know. It's a pretty powerful, beautiful visual gift.
Well, and a guarantee. Like, just the guarantee.
Oh, and healing? I mean, hey, listen, healing's possible. Jesus shows that healing is possible.
It's possible.
Forgiveness is possible. Mercy. all of these things that we find in the personhood of God. Okay, so if you could tell me, I mean, we both have suffered setbacks and disappointments, as is every human being that has lived on this planet.
Yes.
And we will continue to have that experience until we take our last breath. What have you in your own experience either learned or hard won as how to get through the struggles of being human?
I think that's just it.
That might help us when we're getting in.
You know, I think that meeting my own limitations early on a couple of years ago was a personal struggle for me, because I felt as though I had to finally admit, which I knew, was that I wasn't capable of doing what I was trying so hard to do. Career-wise and family-wise, it was just out of order. And so I think I hit the wall literally there. So that'd be one area which I thought, like, God, I thought this would look different. I thought maybe I was running ahead of you, asking you to bless my steps. Like, how did I get out of line with your will? Because it certainly felt like it. And not seeking him first before decisions, and then suffering loss. You know, our family fell in love with two young, awesome hearts, Fernando being one. Head over heels in love, and only because you really cared enough to breathe his name out, to speak of a boy who needed a rescue. And this little boy, I continue to think about it, because this is a boy who God saw and wanted to rescue. And like, we are all that. We're all that little child who can't quite see right, who is sick in some way. And he seeks us out and wants to literally bring him close, bring you close, bring me close. And I think really having a desperate earthly hope that this miracle would happen on this side of life. And then feeling for both of these children, Brooke is a little girl that, like, for years I just came to love. You know, she's our daughter's age. She battled hard against her illness, and I thought, God, like, I was literally waiting for a miracle for her mom, for Fernando, for his family, and selfishly for my own children, to see, like, see, I told you, if you pray for miracles, they happen, right? A plus B equals C. And then when it doesn't happen, you have all these little eyes looking at you like, wait a minute, where's the miracle? And I'm like, actually, sometimes I think when we're looking for a miracle to happen, we forget that we're looking at the miracle. Like, you and I talked about this. Fernando was the miracle.
Right.
He opened our hearts. God used him to open our hearts and knit hearts together. Brooke was the miracle. And so sometimes when I'm looking for a miracle to happen, I forget that the miracle is the person that God has placed before you to show you how to love better. And then also that the miracle is that which happens when they're reunited with their maker, with no pain. And so my desires are limited.
Fernando got the experience of love, like true, like we love.
And we got loved in a way that I didn't know. You know, someone said to me, it's kind of risky to have your kids start to love someone that's in that situation. I said, some of the greatest risks come with the greatest reward in God's arms. You know, like,
well, I know coming home from the funeral that we both were, I don't know if it was Rose or Elise, it was just perfect silence on the whole car ride home, and one of them said, so what do we do now? And it just completely, like, because it's exactly what I was feeling, like, so what do we do now? Right. And I think that when we go back to suffering, heartbreak, and loss, and struggle, I do believe, and I'm getting older and hopefully a little bit wiser to know, you're trying to help me see something, God. Like, you're trying to stretch me, grow me, help me see, reveal something. And I need to not lock up and be so panicked in these places. And somehow take a breath and see, like, okay, so what are we doing here? What are you trying to do here? What are you trying to show me? But then my answer, so I took a breath when Rose asked me the question, and then I said, so we love again. And it's the only thing.
And again.
There's so many unanswered questions here, and it can make me feel panicked, because we both are a little bit like, we like to be in control and call the shots, and we are both hard workers. So maybe this does come a little harder for both of us. But I have to just, it's like you put your pants back on and you go back out and you love again. And you say, okay, God, so what are we doing next? Like what's the opportunity next to love and to be loved?
Not losing hope. God asks us to not lose hope.
And I got to hold fast to hope.
You know, we have
regardless.
Right after, I was glad we started this exercise in my house, because I really needed a visual and a way to communicate with our kids. Like what does it look like when things with our prayers here are not answered, and yet the answer is God does it on his time. And the healing comes in heaven. Sometimes it comes here, and sometimes it comes in heaven, and we can't control that. And so I just started illustrating this little kid's journal, and I don't know what it's going to become, but it's about this wall in our house where we do a flashlight night, where I'm like, okay, we need to be really brave, guys, and we have this wall, and we write out literally like things we're praying about and things we're hoping for. And so at first I thought we'd go back every week, like, how'd that turn out? How'd this look? Like, do you see that? And I let a little time go. God just gave us enough time where we went back up and we do a flashlight night where we make it all dark. And I turn the lights on and I say, do you see the wall? And they say, yes. And I turn the lights off and I say, do you see the wall now? No. Is the wall still there? Yes. Even when you can't see God, he's still there. So that's kind of how, and working on it.
And redeeming and loving.
And we just shine that light on the areas, like, I want you to shine the light on the areas you see God working. Because there will be some. He's good. He's so good. He'll give you, if you're looking for it, he will see, oh, my kids came home today from school. We have food on there are ways that God is working daily if you're willing to say, yes, this is a gift from you. I see you working here.
So maybe that is part of, or the most important part of living soulfully is your eyes and your heart open. Like in that way. So we're looking for the sweet and the sacred and the deeper and the meaningful.
But being honest about when it's not too. Like when we shut that light off and it's like, but I don't see where he's working here.
And we feel that.
I don't see that, but I trust he's still there and still working, even though it feels dark. And I think we have to be honest. I think we have to be, that's where hope comes in, because you can't hope on your own will.
Right.
Like our will, we can be obedient, but our own will can't make things turn out.
Right. And I think that's why it's so important to have people in your life. And this is part of living soulfully, is that you get to choose who's in your life. And so you have to choose people that are going to hope with you. So when you don't have the hope there, that they're like showing up. Okay, Farrell, let's get up. We're going to do this. And then vice versa, me doing the same for you. Like, okay, Elizabeth, you're not feeling it, so I'm going to feel it for you. I'm going to carry you today. I'm giving you the hope.
I just read this thing the other day. It said, a dear friend, and I'll put in parentheses now, in hope, is one that can sing the words back to you when you have forgotten the tune.
Beautiful.
Right? And I do think, I don't know where it came from, and I wish I could quote it. You're better at doing that. So once you figure out who said that, I know you can notch it. Okay. But I love how we can do that for one another, and it just takes slowing down a little bit. This is a really fast world, and I think the in-betweens and carving out time with people who are devoted, even with their limits, in seeking God, really desperately
sharing love,
just loving. I feel like sometimes it's so simple. He's like, just love each other.
That's it.
Right? I know. Just be loving.
How much can you love, Farrell?
Just love.
Can you do it?
Can you do it in this busy world?
Okay, so you've been given, you've passed through Peter at the gates, and now you get to meet God. What would be the first thing you would say or tell or share?
I think I would just fall. I think I would literally fall down and just say thank you. Like, thank you. I don't even deserve to be here. Like I don't deserve this place, but thank you.
And I think I would say,
Can I see all my people that I love?
I know. Can I see them?
I
know. And thank you for what you've allowed me to do and see and experience and love.
Thank you for loving me anyway. Thank you for loving me just like this. Thank you for letting me be with the people I love and wait for the people I love. I feel like that would be...
Please, dear God, let us all get to be back together again. Right?
That's
Spirits.
The promise.
Right.
That's the promise. I don't think there's any...
I don't have to be 18.
I don't have to be 18.
I don't have to look 18.
I don't have to eat gluten.
Just the spirit.
I don't know.
Me, Elizabeth, our spirits
Do you think
together.
I'll still be gluten-free in heaven, Farrah? I think he's going to be like, here's a real pizza. I think it's going to look like that.
I love it.
I can have dreams, right?
Okay, well, on that front, and I know I'm going to answer like number one of these, possibly. Okay, so what are the 3 little things that give your soul joy? Now, these are the, I'm all about it, and I believe, I love what St. Teresa said. She said, you do small things with great love, and that is joy, small things. It's the little things. Huge believer, a little cup of tea.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to answer number one for you, which would be my my gluten-free chocolate muffins.
Yes.
Can be one of your little things. Okay, now give me the next.
Now that is goodness. That is experience.
That's pure soul joy.
Right,
pure soul joy.
Okay, so actually spreads around my family, so they're so happy about that.
Little people get it too.
Oh my golly, those are good.
But in your day-to-day life, what are those little things that like make you smile? Like just the little things.
Just the little things.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, I love holding a hand.
Okay, I love that.
I love holding a hand. I love feeling the hand of Tim or one of the kids in the car. I just love it in the in-betweens. I'm really an in-betweener. I love on the way to something. I didn't used to. I wanted to just get there. And now I really love the in-between.
It's these sweet little spaces, right? We get to carve them out.
And hold a hand, or just, it's kind of just as like, I used to see it as wasted time, but I actually feel like, because everything now has a time and a schedule, I really treasure the in-betweens because they are
that is like
time.
Beautiful tip for living soulfully.
Just the in-betweens.
It's like we have to, because both of us, we're driving from here to there to back to here to there, and if we can make those little sections of time sacred, I love that.
And so I'd say holding a hand, the in-betweens, and Farrell, I like dark chocolate. So I'm going to say, like, when I give myself chocolate, like a little taste of something good, I like sweetness. And I think it's my daily kind of like, I treat myself a lot, but that's my one where it's kind of savoring. So I feel like dark chocolate allows me to savor, and it reminds me like things are worth savoring.
I love that.
And so
I think it's why I have my cup of tea every day, because it's like, okay, so we're going to sit down and we're going to have a cup of tea and savor this little moment. And I love it because Percy, my 5-year-old, was home 2 days ago because he was sick. He had a little fever. And I found him, he had crawled up on the countertop and he was getting a tea bag out and making himself his own cup of tea. And I'm like, yes. Okay, yes, this is like tending to that little spirit that's, so
like
good.
A little pocket mirror of you.
Well, he's much sweeter. He's a sweet little soul.
I need to slow down and have my tea like that, though. That I will say. Like because I pretty much am like, can this not get any sooner?
The caffeine. I know. Okay, so you know that I love authors and books and quotes and scriptures and all that because I'm a visual person like you. So I like. Do you have an author or a book that has been especially meaningful to you for your spiritual life?
I do. I'm not particularly great at quoting because I'm always terrified of getting it wrong unless it's in front of me. But I will say I have turned to, I love the work of C.S. Lewis just for his writing. I just think you can get lost and found in his writing.
It's like an intelligent faith. It's like we bring our minds to it, and that's why I've always been drawn to C.S. Lewis, because it's like, okay, he's taken his mind to it, and we know how smart he is.
Yes.
And then he brings his heart in.
Yes. And he's also good for a dose of humility, because I'm like, I'm not sure I totally understand that. So I'm just going to be honest here. Like, I read it, but I'm not sure I totally understand it all. So he's good for a little dose of humble pie. Tim Keller, I just think he's so wise, and I had the privilege of being in his church in New York City for years. I love his writing. Scott Sauls is brilliant. I love your Pocket Cathedral. I hope you write more. You have such a gift. I could just sink in your writing and just like stay there and camp out in there. I love books, and I sink in a lot of them at the same time. But I think just because I want to be a student, and I think I do seek wisdom. And so I try to, and I like to hear perspective on, life from wise people. And so I've tried to, I probably need to be more disciplined in reading one thing through at a time, or broadening outside. I don't afford myself a ton of fiction. I just don't. I should. I haven't read any of the Harry Potter.
Are we
still friends?
Oh gosh,
I know. This is where you're gonna learn.
Because I love fiction.
I know.
I love fiction. I love the being taken to a place, and the creativity and the imagination and the.
I know. I think I need a little more fiction.
I know. Well, you know what I did this summer? So I didn't read anything but fiction this summer.
Oh, you wanted a fiction vacation?
A complete fiction
vacation.
And every single book that I read was beautiful.
Oh, I bet it was.
Oh my gosh, it was like such a gem. So I'm back on reading.
Okay.
I'm reading a book on the saints right now, so I'm back on reading more of the spiritual stuff.
Okay.
But it's good to have a little fun.
Yes.
Just little fun every now and then.
I need to.
Well, especially when there's a good love story in there. Right?
I do like that.
I like a love story. Okay, now tell me this. Do you have a spiritual discipline or practice that is something that you do, on a regular basis? Like I would say for me, it's I go to nature. So that to me is I struggle with like meditation, but I do meditate when I'm in nature. It's not like I can't like quantify it, like exactly what I'm doing, but I know that I'm in a place of reflection and peace, and I feel that Jesus always went away. He like stepped out, and it struck me about 2 years ago that it's the only way for me. For some reason that I cannot seem to do it in the midst of the busyness. I have a harder time with that. Like, but if I can take myself out every day, like literally step out, and that's nature for me.
You'd love this book, Lead Yourself First.
Who writes that?
It's written by Michael Irwin.
Okay.
He's a friend of mine. Also don't deserve his friendship either. Really wise man. But he writes across, it's kind of like a cross section of how the great leaders sought solitude in order to hear what to do next. And it shows examples of religious leaders, strategic leaders, how the one thing they all had in common amongst their like diversified callings was that they sought solitude. And I think that's a discipline. I think once you start doing it, it becomes almost a need. I would say I wish it was
feel like your exterior life can sometimes feel a little bit like sandpaper on your interior life if you don't do some sort of discipline, right?
Yes,
or like days can go, or
like I run away and then I come home. I run away and then I come home. I run. I think for me it's like I feel like what I call like a body cry. Like I have to like break a sweat and just breathe heavy and feel like some sort of point of exhaustion so that I can be undone. Like I feel like every day I need to just like body cry, especially on like a tough day, which there are many of those where I just have to like get undone and then fill up. And I feel like by the time I get back, I feel like that has really been a helpful discipline for me to understand the why behind the what. Why am I doing this? And then also just getting quiet enough because I'm loud. I talk a lot. I think I have a lot to say, but I have a lot more to hear. And so I think I just have been trying to get quiet enough to read and listen to what God has said and then obey that. Like I'm just kind of like,
we need more
let's just
silence,
obey.
don't we? We need more silence.
Yeah, just listening, like, okay. Because I do think he'll etch into your heart. I do think he will etch over time, and he will bring to light things that are there, so that you can see them and seek him and feel close to him, because he's there. He's like, dude, I'm right here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm right here. Even if you don't want to admit it, even if you're not sure of the what is right near you, it is me. That's unchanging. So that I feel comfortable, because I don't really like to be alone. I think one of my fears is being alone. I like to have near people. You know, maybe I'm extroverted.
I think coming from a family of 6 and then having this huge family, I'm used to, I like all these people around me. But then we also know that to be around all those people, we do need to kind of step away. Yeah. And that's more wisdom as I'm getting older, is realizing that it's not going to happen for you, Farrell, if you don't step away and refill and have some peace and stillness.
Have you met someone who you desperately want them to feel that peace that you have about this God that exists? Like, how do you, because I think a lot of people of faith, and I'll ask you this because I feel like your understanding is so in heart, and it's from a desire to like have that person have, like, whoever it may be, like this joy and peace through tough circumstances, that this is a great God who loves you and cares for you even though this is going on. How do you effectively like communicate that? Or is it like a Bob Goff would say, just love them? You know, like, because I think that's so true. Like sometimes it's just loving someone that shows them and introduces them to God, and other times there's a way, I think, to communicate it. And I think a lot of people who hold on to their faith want to be able to do that, but we can kind of mess it up along the way.
I don't know, faith for me is, it's so simple and yet so often difficult. It all boils down to trust for me. You know, it's I have to trust. And I often say it's, you know, you can be this amazing mystic or theologian or intellect, but really we all have this tender beating heart in each of us trying to make our way. And as much wisdom as I can, and, you know, from reading and school and learning, which I think is so important. I think God asks us to please keep learning, please keep growing, but then it all goes back to this little tender heart. And I think that's, even as a child, I've been drawn to the human heart. And so I guess to go back to your question, for me, it's one step at a time. Always, like every single day, it's just one step. Allowing myself to surrender and trust. And instead of Farrell running the ship, which I can easily take the reins, you know, very easily. Like every minute I could take the reins, because I am strong and smart and I work hard, and so I can take the reins and make things happen. And I have to realize that it's one step at a time, Farrell.
I think we share that, probably like trying to will it through. I just came to thought of an exercise that I guess I don't think about as unique at all, but for me, I can like hold on to things pretty tightly, and so I think that's a good thing until it's not. So wherever I can find like some steps and rocks, I will literally hold rocks up and pray up the steps with the body cry. And then the hardest part for me is letting those rocks go. Like, all right, God, you know how tight I'm holding this prayer. You know how much I love this person. You know how much I need to work on this. You know how much I'm struggling with this. And then the moment I need to physically meet my desire of heart with sometimes like a physical gesture, and it is like, I'm letting that go. I'm totally laying it at your feet. I'm totally giving it over to your power, because as much as I want to do it, you're the one who can. You know, so
which is the beautiful Celtic tradition of the two stones, you lay down the stone that you need to just let go and trust God, and then you actually take with you a stone of trust.
Okay.
Right? So we're laying down and picking up at the same time.
I used to pray like this, and sometimes I still do, and I find myself like, for me, I think everyone, I do feel like that works in heart. And then now my years, like I literally am just praying like, I don't want to hang on to anything but you. You know, I just open my hands up, and even in, whether it be in church or in my car or wherever, like just for me, I'm a clencher. I clench through things. I grit through things. I pick things up on my run. Like I'm like, oh, someone dropped it. I'll carry it. I will carry things. I'm like a camel, but I also can carry a lot of like worry and other people's worry and I just absorb it and hold it and carry it. And I think the hardest thing for me to do is surrender it. And I'm learning how to do that better, that I cannot. Like God's just asking us to be with and pray deeply about and seek him. But ultimately, like, he's like, I'm not asking you to carry all that stuff. I'm just not.
I think that, you know, I'm not a prayer right before I go to bed, because usually if Beryl's head hits the pillow, I'm out. So I pray when I'm in nature and when I'm jogging and stuff. And I've realized lately that my prayers have, and I don't know what to say since I wrote a book of prayers, and I write prayers every week.
Beautiful.
But when I'm actually running and jogging, my prayers are so simple. It's like, be with me. You know, it's okay, I'm trusting you, or in your hands, thy will be done.
Yes.
Super simple prayers. Okay, so we both, you know, we're talking about living soulfully, and something that's very important to both of us is food and fellowship and being together, and the table, and the table being pretty and setting it flowers and all of that stuff is, we love that.
We love it.
Right? We love it. And we love it especially when we're together and we're doing it together. Okay, so if you had your, and this is not with me, you don't have to say with me, even though we know we'd love to be together, your best night, the best meal, the people around your table, the place, music maybe, what would that look like? Like, what would be like the perfect thing sitting in front of you? Besides one of my chocolate muffins.
Besides one of your chocolate muffins, and besides a gluten-free pizza.
Yeah, what would it be?
You know, it would probably be one of my grandmother's meatballs.
Oh, that's good. I love it. I need that. Can you share that recipe?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
She would give me like this little, I would sleep over at her house. And I hadn't thought about this in years, and I wrote it this year, and I'm like, you know what? So now I see things as like her meatball. Like I see everything as her meatball.
Yeah, but a good meatball.
A good meatball.
Yeah.
She'd work all morning on this dinner, and I'd sleep over at her house, and she'd wake up and pray, and then I would vacuum and dust, and we'd go in the garden. She could grow a tomato out of a rock. I mean, she just had a green thumb. It was amazing. And she would start to cook, and oftentimes I'd get up and I'd already smell what she was making. It was just like, oh my gosh,
like oregano.
Oh, just the
Parmesan.
Yes.
Tomatoes,
and brownie meat. It was
basil.
Just amazing. Basil, fresh basil. I mean, I still will eat a tomato like an apple, because that's what I did growing up. I'd have a piece of basil and a tomato, and I would just eat it like an apple.
Yum.
And I love it.
I'm telling you, it's the simple things.
It's the simple things, but I think it would be, because I know she was so excited to give us a taste and gather at the table. I think that's where I got it from. She would just sit at the end of the table and just watch us
enjoy
eat.
it.
So I'm not even sure it would be what I would eat, but I think it would be, and I like food, I'm a little Italiana. I think it would be just being with, and I think that's why I think we see the food as being close to someone. Like, I think you have that right here. Like, I made this for you.
Yes.
Like, I'm so excited to share this with you and have fellowship time. And I think it's why our families are, like, eat well together and have fellowship well together, because the value of the table, and I really cherish and am thankful for how much value you place on it, because this world, I think, is taking it away a little at a time. But, like, the command to say, this is sacred space. We're going to sit.
I'm going to light the candles.
Set the table for you. And you do it way better. But, like,
no.
I just think you have a gift. God gave you a gift of gather. And when you're gathering with your people. And so I feel like, gosh, one of those dinners has already happened here at least once or twice. And not to mention, like, your food is, like, beyond savory and fresh and just, but you could tell the love that went into it. You have been given a gift. Like, I think your anointing is like feeding soul and mouths and bellies at a very faithful table. I feel like it's soulful, it's faithful, and you gather well, and you sit and you pause, and it's just, not only is it fun, but it just is nourishing and on so many levels. So I feel like you've given our family a chance to experience like exactly what you're asking about here.
And the same happens at your house.
Listen, I mean it. That is, but I think just having, I feel like.
But we both know it doesn't even have to be because you know I cook very simply, simple ingredients and everything. So it's not like I'm, you know, French chef trained. So it's less, like you said, it's less about the food and it's more about the love that's put into preparing something and then everyone all around the table.
Yeah.
And staying at the table. Sitting. Like sitting.
If someone gets up on the table, they get the eye.
Yes. Like, wait a minute. We're not done here. It's 11:30, but we're not done here. We're staying.
I make everybody sit for breakfast. I'm like, I don't care if it's 10 minutes. We're sitting here together as a family.
I do too.
I know. And
no rushing.
But I feel like it's one of those things that it's a battle sometimes to make that happen.
But so important.
Selfishly,
a worthwhile battle. We have to sit at the table together. Even if it's 10 minutes. No phones, a candle is lit, 10 minutes, if that's all it is. We have to sit at the table.
10 minutes with the people you love.
Right, with the people you love.
With the people you love and just sit and be there together. I do feel like so much. And when you do it, I think the benefit of it is like, as much as I love the in-between time, which God, by His grace, gives us all the time, I think He is also asking us to be intentional and protective over our time.
Be present in the moment.
And sit. Just
Here
sit.
it is.
Just sit. Come to the table. He said it. Just come to the table. But you have a real treasured, I think, approach to that, which I just have learned to love. And you've shared it with our family. And I just love our time with your family here. Because it feels like a generous offering in heart in addition to some delicious food that I still need lessons. I'm like, I've tried to make your muffins. They're like, well, they're almost as good. Like, I've tried
to share the recipe. I haven't given it yet.
No, you don't have to give it. Just keep coming over.
Okay, and drop off. I call them a love drop. So just drop them off.
Yes.
Especially for your precious little ones. Okay, so you know in Bread and Honey, I always sign off, live in hope.
Yes.
Because, and we've talked about this the day-to-day of trying to live in hope. So the last question is, what is your greatest hope?
My greatest hope is that we can all be together at the great table. You know, that we can all be together on God's timing. And I think my greatest hope is in that, because I've already seen that if I put my hope in anything that I've seen here or wanted, doesn't always work out the way and with my limited ability or thinking, even creative heart, like hoped. You know, it didn't seem to turn out that way. So my hope is not in how things could look here, but I know He loves us enough to give us goodness while we're here. But my hope is that we will all be around that table. We will all be joyfully together, because I like together. I like together.
I like together.
I like together.
Beautiful.
What's your greatest hope?
To love well.
You do.
To love well. I just, if there was ever a great hope, it's that I would love well.
You do.
The people that are easy to love, and also the people that are harder to love, and strangers, and the whole thing.
Just love.
Yeah.
Just be loving. And it can look so simple, right?
I know, but it is. It's a charge. It takes us, and maybe that's why God says, love me in mind, body, and spirit, and soul, the whole of you, because I think to truly love, you have to do it from all those places.
You love well.
So do you.